Alex, founder, creator, artist, when did you realize business success wasn't enough anymore?
Oh, that's a great question. When I was 27 and I had three businesses turning over $2.5 million in revenue a year, and I was quote unquote at the pinnacle of my external success at that point in my life, and I was really quite empty on the inside. And there was a specific moment where I was sitting in a hotel room and I couldn't find any drugs to buy. So I crushed up some cold and flu tablets to snort them by myself. And it was in that moment I remember kind of having a moment of awareness of just like, what am I doing? Like this it didn't even get me high. Like, what the fuck am I doing actually? And that for me was the moment that I realized that business and financial success was not the pinnacle, was not the be all and end all of living.
Hmm. And what happened next?
So, then I was 27 then, so that was back in 2017, and that was really the year that I started to change my life. I went to a Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. I walked on the hot coals, did a bunch of things like that. Started practicing gratitude, but even then, I still remember back then I was saying every day the three things that I'm grateful for, but I couldn't really connect with the feeling. And it wasn't until I went to the Bridge Experience and Extreme Leadership with Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos that I basically was put in a situation where I was taken to my most vulnerable point, the most vulnerable point I'd ever experienced in myself, in front of other people, in a room with them, in this personal development setting. And that was the moment where I started to cry about something in front of a group of people, and I realized like it felt really vulnerable, really raw, but there was something in me that said like this is the right place for me to be. And I mean, we're almost talking about a decade ago now, so this is a long time ago. So that was 2017. We're in 2026 right now, and I mean the rest is history. I've invested heavily in my own personal development, spiritual growth, and um, really, I've continued to invest energetically and financially in living a life that aligns me with my soul's highest calling and highest inspiration, as opposed to fitting myself into a model of what I think life is or what I should be doing on a day-to-day basis, or how I should play life in order to get some kind of physical outcome that I desire, aka a specific amount of money or a house or this or that. I've just continued to follow the flow of where life has taken me and where my soul is guiding me to. And that is an investment, not only financially, but energetically and courageously to do so, because often some of the decisions we make in alignment with our soul's truth do not make logical sense at all. Like selling my two real estate businesses that were, you know, are now worth millions and millions of dollars more than what they were when I sold them, just because it was a bad time to be selling a real estate business in the marketplace that I sold it in. So
Well, so yeah, and you've done this transition, you've keep investing, but you still run your business, right? So you have a couple other businesses right now currently operating, but you started introducing music into your life, right? So when did that entered your space?
yeah. So I grew up as a musician. We had a piano at home, and I never saw anyone else play it, but I would always get on there and sort of play. And then eventually I started teaching myself things. This was before YouTube, so I had to learn how to read music basically, and teach myself how to play the right hand and then the left hand, and then putting them together. And then at 11, I decided I wanted to learn the drums. So my mom used to drive me to my drum lessons every Wednesday afternoon. 20 minutes down the hill, she would take me and wait for me outside while I had my lesson. And we got a drum set, and at home I was always playing on the drums, much to my parents' annoyance, probably on some level because of how loud it is. As you can see, right behind me, there's a drum kit right now. And then at 13, I got asked in my new high school, I got asked if I would like to be a trombone player because they were looking for trombone players. And um, this is a running joke in every band. Everyone's always looking for trombone players now. Um, so I got asked to play the trombone, and I said yes. And one of my best friends is already a trombone player, so that worked out well. And I decided that I really loved it and I wanted to go all in on it. And so I worked really hard, and music really became like my main passion and obsession, actually. And I was practicing 2 to 3 hours a day. I would go home and I would be so committed and disciplined to my practice. Um, and eventually, within a year, I was promoted to the high school senior band because they needed a trombone player once again. I was well below the age for that, but I got put in it. And then I was in the jazz band, and then a year or two later, I was the lead trombone player in my high school, and was really probably one of the most committed music students that was in the music program there. And then there was a specific moment when I was 15 where our band went on a tour from Western Australia to Tasmania. It's all the way over the other side of Australia. Tasmania is a little kind of island off
Yeah.
the southern coast of Australia, and my parents could not afford the fee to send me to go. I think it was about $2,500 to go, and keeping in mind this is 20 something years ago, so probably that was like, I don't know, the equivalent to 5 or 6 grand right now. I'm not sure. And they even refused an interest-free loan from one of the other parents to send me. And I was the only student out of the whole band that didn't get to go. And
Oh,
I remember I had a dream of like becoming a jazz trombone player, and I wanted to go to university to pursue that. But this moment of missing out on something that I wanted to do because of a lack of money, combined with um, combined with my teachers, most teachers saying like the typical route is you're going to go to university, and then you can always become a music teacher if you fail. That's your fallback. And me thinking, well, I don't want to be a music teacher. I don't want to be like my teachers at school. Like, no offense, they're great, but that's not the life I want. It was really at that point that I started to prioritize money over anything else, and over music, in fact, as well. And so then I really gave up music. I toured with an orchestra after school for a little while. But after that, I really gave up everything at about 2021 and stopped playing altogether. And, it wasn't until I was about 30, 31. So this was 4 years after my, let's call it spiritual awakening, and exiting out of some of my businesses, that I admitted to myself and my coach that I actually wanted to do music. Like, that was really my deepest passion that I'd buried for a really long time. So I admitted that, and I started to, put a bit more time into music, but I still wasn't taking it seriously. And it was actually in 2024 that I sold m I bought a guitar, and I'd had a couple of lessons, but over the course of, like, 3 years, I'd still not really done anything with it. And in 2024, I sold the guitar I bought. I was like, "I'm not This is embarrassing." Like, every time I look at this, I feel ashamed that I'm not even practicing this thing. I don't practice the trombone, I'm not practicing piano, I'm not doing any music really. I just have these instruments lying around, and I feel like a fraud. So I got rid of the guitar, and within 2 months, I found myself at a music retreat in Spain where we got to play music and also drink ayahuasca, and over the course of 10 days. And over the course of 10 days, the 20 people that were there, we each brought 2 songs to share, and we each learned all the songs together. And it was in this retreat that I went and bought a €100 guitar just before the retreat. And I sort of got over the beginner hump by playing so consistently in this immersion, and it was really amazing. And I realized through that experience and drinking ayahuasca, where I cried a lot and had these profound realizations, that I I wanted to be doing music. Like, why am I still, why was I still ignoring my soul and the voice in my soul? And so since then, I've been, getting consistent guitar lessons. I've been getting consistent vocal lessons and really working hard at my music. And I've written now 9 or 10 original songs. I've released one song, and I've got an album of eight tracks coming out in the next few months. Um, we haven't set the exact release date yet, but that'll be out soon. And yeah, I connected with a music producer via Instagram. His name's James Berkeley, and he lives in London. And I flew him out here to Austin in December for a week, and we locked in and we produced an album together. So I played, guitar, I played drums, I played a trombone, and I sung on the album, and he played the piano and the bass guitar. And together we brought my ideas to life, and it was honestly probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had.
Wow. Oof. It gave me a little bit of chills from, man, I can relate with a lot of parts of this, because for me, music is similar in the way of acting, right? I wanted to go to New York Film Academy and study acting, and it was because of the money. I got a scholarship to go to the university in Argentina, and it was because of the money. So yeah, I deeply feel that when it comes to not being able to really get fulfilled and having to shit for the money part, the money conversation. So thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
yeah, following that conversation, right? Like, the dream has been coming back to you again and again and again, right? And why do you think people, because people are most likely hearing this call, why do you think people like you don't take action on it? What stops
I think,
us from being in our dreams?
yeah, I think that most of us grew up in some capacity living from a place of survival. And even if you grew up maybe in a wealthy family, which I did not, then it's very possible that you still grew up in a place of survival in your nervous system. And we are heavily conditioned by our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, and society to play it safe and to be a good boy or a good girl and get a job and work hard and save up for our first house and pay off our first house. And once you've done that, then you've succeeded, and maybe you can buy another house, and you should have children and get married and, um, live that life. That's what we were conditioned to, because that's what they did. That's what life was. Uh, and I think that it in order to pursue our biggest dreams, it actually requires the most abundant version of us to step forward, the most inspired, trusting, um, relentless version of us to step forward. And that takes a lot of growth to get to that point. And so that's the funny thing about it, is that I have achieved success in many areas of life that other people would say is incredible or amazing, or maybe most people won't achieve. I was making over $1 million a year when I was 23, 24, 25, and had multiple seven-figure businesses by the age of 27. So, but that didn't feel as hard to me as going all into my dream, because my soul did not care about that as much. And it's the actualization of self that is the thing that where we will encounter the most hurdles to overcome, the most fears and doubts. Um, because it's like, you know, if someone says, "Oh, why don't you become the world's best ping pong champion?" Well, all right, yeah, I could do that, but like, I don't care whether I get there or not. So I could put in the work and I could put in the discipline and I could make myself want it and all those things, but I'm not going to really have any fear or doubt because I don't have no attachment to an identity of any sort around that result or outcome. Whereas, on some level, my soul knows that I'm meant to be doing music, and therefore there's an attachment to wanting to be good at it, wanting to succeed at it. Um, and I think that that's where most of our work internally starts.
That's a really interesting take because most of the time you heard people in the personal development community like if you do your soul's calling, it's going to be the easiest one. It's going to feel natural. It's going to feel all these things. And but you're saying it's actually the opposite in a way because the one
I
that
think it's
challenge.
like it's both. There is a sense of ease in the moment that I actually decided I was going all in on music. 18 months ago, and then even then I still wasn't all in, and I really wasn't all in till I started. All right, I'm going to produce this album. I'm going to make that happen, and then I noticed things starting to just happen in my life around me because I was embodying the truest version of myself that's meant to be here. However, I think that that is true, and also you're probably going to encounter um, the most fear, the most doubt, and the most limiting beliefs coming up because the thing that you're being called into is requiring the most expansive version of you, and of course, the bigger the light, the greater the shadow that is cast, and so that's a part of that.
Now when it comes to mentors, so you mentioned Preston and Alexi and Rich, you went to Tony Robbins. Has there been any mentors around music?
Yeah, I have a teacher, Carioca, who's from Brazil. He's a 70 something year old man who's been, working with medicine for many, many years and is a master musician. And, really it was his guidance and his encouragement and um, welcoming into his spaces that inspired me to really pursue music. It was his container that, yeah, made me realize that it was possible for me. And then second, I have my guitar teacher, Guy Alves. He's also in Brazil. Um, and outside of that, just taking inspiration from my favorite artists and connecting with people in the music scene. And, my producer, James, has become a very good friend and we'll definitely produce another album or two or three or four or five together because we found a really cool flow together that, created some cool music. So
Hmm. Do you think you were able to integrate some parts of your ability to be a good businessman into music, or do you think there's a different skill set between them?
yeah, I think there's definitely overlap. Business requires planning, preparation, it requires a vision, it requires willingness to take risk, it requires creating something from scratch for the most part. Um, I think the part where my business skills, because I've been an entrepreneur now for 10 years, over 10 years, I think the part that overlaps the most or has helped the most is just the execution of the creation itself. So, when I'm thinking about launching this album, okay, how am I going to launch the singles? How am I going to market it? How am I going to get it out there? That stuff's not new to me. Selling things is not new to me. Putting myself out there is not new to me. Um, so I think those skills are super applicable. Yeah.
And now going down to your creative process, I've experienced when I'm painting, there's a moment where I cannot add anything else to the song, to the painting, right? How's your creative process when it comes to your songs? For example, the one that you just released.
Yeah. Well, we haven't released any from the album yet. The first single will be out in about a month. Yeah, look, it's just about starting with an idea and then trusting to follow through on that. So some of the songs started with a guitar lick that I had just been sitting there playing. Go on here, like this might be a bit out of tune, but I came down and we'd been out for the afternoon. We just went out and got some sun, and then I got home and I pulled the guitar up and I did that a few times and I was like, oh, I like this a lot. Like, and so that we recorded that, and that became the basis of the song. And then once you've got that down, it's like, oh, I've got these lyrics here that I really like. Well, let's just start riffing over that. And so I've got that playing in the background, and then it's like, the lyrics were, don't know you, but I'm falling in love, just reaching, like it just kind of came out. And I think with any art, it's about trusting what wants to come out. That was the biggest lesson. I was struggling 2 or 3 weeks before we produced the album. I was in Panama and I was doing some writing for the album, and a friend messaged me who's an artist, and I said, I'm kind of stuck on this song. And she goes, oh, just sing it. Like, how would you sing it if it just wanted to come out? And that it just made it so simple, because I've been trying to figure something out for a couple hours, but the reality was there was a part of me that already knew how these lyrics wanted to sound in a melody and how they wanted to be expressed. And so I've realized with creativity that it's really just about trusting that. And then the finished product, sometimes you'll love it, sometimes you'll not like it that much. And then also sometimes you don't really like it, and then it grows on you. And you're like, whoa, I actually really like this. This is really cool. And I heard John Mayer say, if you don't like the music you're making, that's okay, because it just means that it's just slightly beyond your current taste palette right now, and you actually learn to love it. And it's become very true, because there's two songs on the album that I wasn't really quite sure of. I was like, is this a bit too poppy? Is it, including the one I just played, and now it's my favorite song. It's my favorite song on the album. Like, this song slaps. Like, this is cool. Wow. I can't believe I created this. This is awesome. And it's because it doesn't sound like anything else I've ever heard before. And it's my style. And when we're creating something brand new, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to just trust whatever's there, and ultimately realize at the end of the day, for me, it's not about, although I would be overjoyed if other people like my music and listen to it, and maybe secretly I'd be a little bit disappointed if people hated it or didn't like it, but the reality is I'm doing this for me. I'm doing it because of how good it feels to express. I'm doing it because I become a better guitarist, a better vocalist every time I record music. I grow, so that's why I'm doing it.
Do you think everyone is an artist?
I think everyone has the capacity to be an artist in their own way. Yeah, yeah, I do think so, and I think a lot of people, now that I'm doing music, I have more conversations about music, and very often am I met by people who say, I wish I could sing, or I wish this. And, even when I started singing, I could hear my voice and I was like, I haven't warmed up. I'm not clear enough. Like, it probably didn't sound the best. And I'm not the best vocalist on the planet by a long shot. But what I realized is the best vocalists got there by training and practice, just like any other skill that we have. And we all have the capacity to train our bodies into learning anything. And the question is just a matter of whether you care enough about learning it or not. Really, that's it. Because
Yeah.
I wish I could play the guitar. It's too hard. Like, I couldn't play the fucking guitar. I couldn't play it. I still, like, I'm way better than I was, 18 months ago, but I'm still nowhere near as good as my teachers or anyone else, like a lot of people I hang out with. And, you know, it's just about practice, literally just practice and persistence. And I think that um, anyone who decides to embody fully their artistry in 2026 and beyond is actually setting themselves up for success, because what it requires of you to become good at an instrument, to become a good singer, to become a meticulously talented painter, um, is stillness, slowness, patience, and discipline, and a willingness to forego short-term dopamine hits in the sake of a longer term result. And that is everything that is the opposite of what is essentially happening to most people's brains at the moment, by the way of the way that social media and short-term dopamine hits around us everywhere are robbing us of that. So you could go as far to say that embodying your artistry is an active rebellion against the war on our dopamine and attention systems.
And as you just said, probably the most talented artists in this moment in time must be the most disciplined, because we also have a bunch of people who are creatives who've gone down the path of self-destruction because they feel so much that they numb themselves. So I think that's
Yeah.
important. Now let's go into plant medicine. So is that for everyone? Like, do you think it's something that's everyone should experience at least once, or how what's your relationship with plant medicine?
Yeah, well, there's like three questions in there. So, do I think everyone should experience it? Uh, or is plant medicine for everyone? One of my teachers always says, ayahuasca is for everyone, but not everyone is for ayahuasca. And it's really about, yes, the medicine is for everyone, but not everyone is ready or willing or wants to actually be shown the truth of our experience of this life, of this universe, and truly be willing to heal from the parts of them that are not in alignment with truth. But I think the world would be a better place if everyone in the world had drank ayahuasca 10 times.
Minimum.
Because just doing it once is like, some people can have a bad experience, and then they label it bad, and then they say, oh, we should never, you know, no one should be doing this, and then they want to ban it or whatever. It's like all fear and protectionism that plays out. But yeah, my relationship with it is that I've sat in hundreds and hundreds of perhaps thousands at this point, I'm not sure, medicine ceremonies with many, many different plants. I've facilitated many ceremonies with psilocybin mushrooms, and I am a passionate advocate for these medicines, not because I think I have all the answers, but because I have firsthand seen how these medicines have changed my life and helped me change my life. I would not be the person I am today without them. I wouldn't have the wealth, the happiness, the abundance in every sense of that word, like the abundance in myself and in friendships and relationships, in love, in joy and life and prosperity, and energy, that if it weren't for these medicines, they've helped me to really clear my backpack that I was carrying of all the things that were holding me back, and including the ways that I was choosing to live my life that wasn't hurting anyone but myself. You know, it hurts us. It actually hurts us energetically when we are willing ourselves to do things that we actually truly are not meant to be doing. And I'm not talking about getting up at 5 a.m. and going for a run, or getting in getting in the cold plunge when it's cold in the morning, or I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about being in relationships we shouldn't be in. I'm talking about living in places we shouldn't be living in, or spending time with people who are not enlivening us, being in a job that we hate. I'm talking about those things. it actually hurts us energetically to be in those states, and that's the level of attunement that the psychedelic medicines have helped me to come to really see on any level, micro or macro, where I'm out of alignment and how it's hurting me, and how to come back into alignment quicker.
What's the importance about doing this with people that actually know what they're doing? Because there's a lot of marketing right now around plant medicines in certain areas, and there can be a lot of leaky energy, and also people who don't have the best intentions in mind. So if someone wanted to get inside this type of containers, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think as always, trust your intuition. Trust what you're seeing and hearing from facilitators, and if something doesn't feel right, then don't engage. And just because someone doesn't feel right for you doesn't mean they're not right for someone else. Um, of course, there are a very small percentage of people in every field, in every walks of life, who have malicious intent, but I don't believe that that's the majority of facilitators in the plant medicine space at all. But some are just not operating in a way that will be in alignment with you and may not help you to feel more safe as a participant. So just trust that, trust if you feel good or not with people. That's good advice for life as well.
Mm. And can someone experiment by themselves, or would you recommend always have guidance entering to these spaces?
No, it depends on your intention. I released a podcast mini series a few years ago called "Have a Good Trip." People can access it on Spotify, Apple Music, or all podcast platforms. And that podcast mini series is designed to give you the information you need to um, have a good trip. So how to understand what's going on, how to resource yourself, how to set yourself up for success, and and also how to look for a facilitator.
So you
But the best advice I've got around finding a facilitator is, obviously, is go somewhere where it's legally available. For instance, in many countries in South America, ayahuasca is legally protected under the Religious Freedoms Act as a sacrament of church and of as indigenous medicine. So indigenous peoples in the Amazon are legally allowed to serve ayahuasca. It's protected. There are places in Brazil, Peru, Colombia for ayahuasca. There are countries around the world where psilocybin is now legal or legally protected or decriminalized. Portugal is one of those. There are ketamine therapy centers around the USA and other countries. There's ibogaine in Mexico and different places. So there's many places now that are legal where you could start your journey if that was important to you.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for that. Now, probably another big transformation is probably fatherhood. Could you share a little bit of uh, how has fatherhood changed your life, and when during the timeline, right? When did that happen?
Yeah, so my son is almost 7 years old. So I've been a father since 2019 when I was 29. That was a year or two after I would say I had my spiritual awakening. Um, I mean, it's been one of the biggest changes in my life. It really forced me to grow up as a man and learn how to balance living from a place of my soul's truth and taking risks and all these things, and also balance the responsibility of having a child and being able to provide and making sure that I'm present and I'm available, and that he's getting the best life he possibly can get. So it's been amazing. It's been probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and It's really cool because as Atlas, my son, gets older, we can do more and more things together that feel, I think, more aligned for both of us as well. And I've really enjoyed that part. I just spent 6 weeks with him in Australia where he lives, and then we see each other every school holiday. So, every 10 or so weeks, um, well, where we're spending, 2 to 6 weeks in like super high quality present time together without me working or anything like that. So he'll be in Austin in April, and then in July I'll be going to New Zealand with him for skiing and snowboarding, and yeah, we get to travel together. It's cool.
Hmm. Hmm. How important is it to be grounded and present with your kid?
What do you think?
Highly important.
Yeah.
And how can you make space for that? Because yes, like in your case, right, you've exited companies and you have a different lifestyle, but for other people or other men who want to maybe become fathers, how can they create presence in their lives?
Yeah. Look, I just want to make something clear. I exited two companies when I lost most of that money that I made in bad investment decisions. So I was not, I have not been sitting on a nest egg of cash this whole time, just or passive investments serving me. And I think that's really important to share with people. And I've been very clear about that the last few years because um, what I don't want to portray is that I have it easy in a sense that um, that's why I can do all these things and fit all this time in. No, I make the time. I make the time and I orient my life around I set myself up for success by determining the exact conditions that I want my life to operate within. For instance, I'm not willing to work more than 20 hours a week, or, that would have been a condition at one point in time. At 1 year, it was, I don't want to work at all. And so in 2023, when I moved to Bali, I was only paying myself 85,000 Australian dollars a year, which is about 55 to 60,000 USD a year. I cut back my expenses completely, but I had a general manager operating in my company earning 100,000, $120,000 a year, but he was working full time. So I was willing to make that sacrifice in income in order to um, kind of, go backwards in the slingshot to be able to propel forward, because I knew that what I needed in that moment was more time in my life to work on myself. And so I haven't always made decisions that were logically smart. I haven't always made decisions from a place of, I'm just sitting on this big, castle over here, and like this is easy for me to do this. Not at all. Like that's not the truth of my experience. But I've become very good at it's Pareto's principle. I think that's the right one, isn't it? It's like things take the time that we give to them. Maybe that's not Pareto's principle. Maybe Pareto's does 80-20 rule. I've got no idea. But things will take up the time we give to them. If you give yourself 4 months to complete a project or a week, it gets done in a week, or 4 months. There's a big difference. And you can create anything you desire in your life by setting up specific conditions for yourself. Because if you can only work 10 hours a week, but you also require an income of 200 or $300,000 a year, then in order to access that, you need to start asking yourself different questions on how to solve for that problem. So life is always about what question are we asking ourselves and what are we solving for? And I'm always solving for the thing that I truly desire, not the thing that I think I need to get in order to get the thing I think I desire. And that's where I think most people mess up. So when it comes back to presence and grounding, well, if you're a father out there right now and you think you need a certain amount of money in order to be able to be present, that's a lie. But you might need a certain level of cash flow to be able to have a certain amount of time. And you might want a certain amount of time. And that's a different problem to solve for. Because the reality is, you don't actually need a set number of cash or assets to have time. You need you simply need to be living a life where your income exceeds your expenses, and therefore your expenses could also probably change as well, you know? So it's like, what's actually most important to you? Well, time. Okay, great. We'll get a smaller house, get a cheaper car, and also solve a way to generate income that doesn't use all of your time, and then build up from there. And that's how you build a life with time and financial capacity.
No, that was awesome. That was awesome because again, it's I even had the idea, right, of when I have $250,000 saved up, then I can have a kid, right? But it's false because if you really focus on what you need to focus, you will become resourceful and actually find the things along the way to achieve what you want. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was epic.
Yeah, there's a big thing happening between men and women right now that I think is challenging, because there's a lot of women out there with princess syndrome who are saying they will only date a man who's earning multiple six figures, 6 foot tall, blah blah blah, whatever. And they want a man to provide fully for them and this and that. And at the same time, they're also saying there's no good men out there and no men are available and they can't find a partner and they really want to have a husband and have kids. The reality is that most men are not in a position to fully provide, and or a lot of men, let's say, a lot of men, and that actually building something together takes teamwork instead of just entitlement. And I think that there are, there's a lot of men that are probably going to make that if they got partnered at 30 and had kids, that by the time they were 45, their family would be much better off than at 30. Um, because when you team up, when you're working as a team, it's like things get easier. You know what I mean? You're only paying one lot of rent between two people, or this or that. There's just different ways that you work together as a team. So I just think that that's something I've wanted to say for a little while. And I think that the cause of sorry, the effect of all of this is that a lot of men are actually delaying having children, or they're delaying getting into romantic partnerships because they don't want the responsibility of provision. And therefore people are just not coupling as quickly or as easily as what they were before. Um, and I really think that's got to, it's got to change at some point.
Hmm. Yeah.
These unrealistic expectations on everyone.
Yeah, it's on both sides, right? As you said, it's the entitlement, but also this self-imposed standard that we need to be figured out at 30 with $1 million in bank. No. So
Exactly. It's unrealistic. The reality is that like 5% of people are going to get to a point like that, and most aren't. So there's I think everyone's got to have a bit of a reality check.
boom. How do you define success now compared to back in 2017?
Well, success back in 2017 was, make as much money as I can and go on lavish trips and really have businesses as big as possible from a revenue perspective. That was really my measure of success. Um, but now success really for me is feeling clear, healthy, and high and connected to my highest vibration. Um, and having living each day exactly as I want to. Yeah. And that is how my life lives. I don't do anything I don't want to do. I don't ever find myself in experiences with people that I don't want to be around. Or if I do, I leave. And I have sovereignty over my time and my decisions. And I think most people probably could access that much quicker than they think. It's not some like magical thing. You've just got to start really connecting with what's important to you and choose it now instead of thinking that there's some other path to it. So yeah, man, that's success for me. Healthy, fit body, energy, good sleep, eating, amazing organic, high quality food, um, having great connection in my life, and also getting the best out of myself. Success to me is not being comfortable. It's sometimes it is, sometimes it has been is about taking a few months of just slow time. But right now, my version of success is pushing myself to my limit and getting more out of myself. That's because I want to. It's intrinsic, pure intrinsic motivation to be at my best in every way right now. That's how I'm feeling.
Mm. Like true mastery in a way. True self mastery.
Exactly.
Being
Yeah.
able to do, if we would do it as an artist, like doing it, being able to do the straightest line possible, nothing else,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Um, when it comes now to connections, right? You say community. How do you find community right now from this new place?
Yeah, I think it's important to look at, first of all, who are the people that inspire you, and then go and get find any way you can to go and spend time with those people. That's where I would start, because in my mind, the only way I want to build community is with people who inspire me, or people who I genuinely just love being around. And so, obviously you can start by just living your best life. Like, what are the activities and things you like to do? And go and find places that have those things and do them. Put yourself out there. Like, you got to, if you want to build community, you've got to become a community builder, and you've got to become willing to initiate things with people. You have to go first. You have to take leaps and reach out to people. Hey, I would like to be friends with you. Could we organize to catch up? I'd like to get to know you more, blah, blah, blah. And just be honest and transparent in your intentions with people. And I think openness will be rewarded. Perhaps, some people are afraid of sharing their intentions honestly, or saying, "Oh man, especially as men, man, I really like you. I really get along with you. Like, I resonate with where you're at. I resonate with what you're doing in your life. I would love to connect more. Like, let's hang out." It's okay if someone says no. It's not a big deal. It's probably not about you. It's about them and their life and the season they're in. And every no is a redirection. But for the most part, you probably find you get a yes.
Hmm. And you never know until you ask.
Exactly.
And you could go back to 27-year-old Alex. Is there something you would tell him that you know about yourself now?
I mean, look, I wouldn't change anything in the way that my life has gone, even though there were some very hard years after 27, and I went through a lot of turmoil, separating with my son's mother, and a few other really challenging experiences. But I think I would just let him know that he's loved, just let him know that he's loved, and it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. He can trust that it's all going to work out, and he can make decisions knowing that, because it is always working out, and it gets better. It works out better when we trust that it's working out.
And right now, where can people find you? How can they work with you if you have? How can people work with you?
They can't.
They can.
Yeah. No. I don't do coaching or anything like that. I'm not, yeah, not doing anything like that. So business wise, I have one main company right now called Workspace Co Outsourcing. We're about to celebrate its 10-year anniversary in the next week. That's my second company to reach a 10-year milestone, which is amazing. Um, the second company I founded. And that's workspacecooutsourcing.com. We provide virtual assistants and operational and administrative solutions to trades businesses all over the world. So that's a company that's run by an amazing leadership team, headed up by Nikki from my team. And outside of that, I'm in the process of developing a new business, which I won't share yet, but that's going to come online. Probably in the next couple months, we'll make an announcement about that, and that's going to be really big. We're going to be raising some capital for that, and I'm really excited by that project. It's really really fun, and we're coming in to disrupt an industry that is in need of some change and disruption. And outside of that, I'm doing music. I'm releasing music, so you can follow me on Instagram at Alexander Waters. You can follow me on Spotify if you look up Alex Waters. Um, and but all my links are via my Instagram profile anyway. And my website's being updated right now, but that's alexanderwaters.com. If you want to go check anything out.
Any last message that you would share to someone that wants to embody more of his artist, of her or her artist, but still feels like it's not confident enough or it's not the right time?
Just make time for it now, even if it's 15 minutes a day, just start in some way now. Put yourself in an immersion where you can't help but get better quicker, and learn from other people who are, much better than you. And just any beliefs that you have, obviously, are just false. Like, they're all nonsense. It's all a story. I don't need to coach you through that. That's just actually the truth of it. And if you want to believe those things, then that's up to you. But you can get help, and you can change your mind. You can change the way you think. That's all within your grasp. You just have to take action on it and find the right people to help you. That's all it is. It's always a who problem, not a how problem.
Thank you, Alex, for all your time and for
Thank
living
you.
your truth.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.